Welcome to the BTN Club in Conversation with Legends. Today we have Mr. Mark Elie. Now I have to ask if I'm pronouncing that correctly, because for years I've always said Elie, but then through the grapevine it's Eli. So please correct me if I've pronounced your name incorrectly. Elie.
The pronunciation of my name, Barry, is Mark Elie.
Eli, right, okay.
Yeah, Mark Elie.
I stand corrected. Mark Elie, even though we've known each other 100 years, I've always been confused as to the pronunciation of that surname. So, how have you been?
I've been very well, Barry, very well. Very busy with getting everything to the ending of my working year, I guess. The working year of the foundation and the dance school. So,
right.
Yeah, it's all coming to a closure, 2022.
Well, if there's one thing you've always been, that's definitely busy.
Absolutely. Busy is good. Busy is good.
I've never, in all the years I've known you, I've never known you not to be busy.
Absolutely. One has to keep mind, body and soul together and have something to look forward to and something to be getting on with.
Absolutely. And the thing is, you realize that, as you said, you need to be having things to get on with. But I like the people who actually realize that, but not only realize it, they realize that they have to be the ones to create it and not sit down and wait for somebody else to do it and bring it to them, for them to be busy.
Absolutely. I was having that conversation with Omar, one of the founders and directors of the Black Theatre, company that was performing awards, the Black Theatre Awards that were on earlier on this year, actually.
Right. Yes, I did see you looking very dapper as usual at the awards. I was away, so missed it. But yeah, Black Theatre Awards, quite an institution and a needed, necessary institution, sadly.
A what, sorry, Barry?
A much needed institution.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Because obviously the origins behind it is because Black actors, actresses were excluded. So they had to kind of create their own body of acknowledgement.
Well, that's the way forward. We have to start taking hold and responsibility of our aspirations and dreams, and make sure that that we now take hold and bring them forward into the future. Because you know, the Americans have been doing it for decades now, and
yes.
Now we have to follow suit and start doing things such as awards, music awards, Black Music Awards, Black Theatre Awards, Black Dance Awards. You know, we're getting there slowly, Barry. We're getting there.
But, you know, the reason why these things have to be created is because of the exclusion, the lack of diversity, the being ignored, your talents and abilities being ignored, even though you're side by side with your, you know, European counterparts. So you have to create a body that acknowledges what you do because you're excluded elsewhere.
Absolutely. That's what we were discussing yesterday, Omar and myself. And, you know, it's just great that things are moving forward nicely. And it was a very exciting, inspiring evening.
Yeah, it was. I saw little bits of highlights and footage. Very nice. I was sad to have missed it. Now, when we last spoke, you had just come out of doing your 30th anniversary of the dance school, which is Powis Square at the legendary community center, the Tabernacle, which, as the years have gone on, it has become much more than just a regular community center. It's actually become a hub of so much more.
Well, it's basically an iconic building. It's one of the jewels in the crown of Kensington and Chelsea, and it's also the home of the Carnival Village, which Matthew Phillips is CEO of. So it has a lot of history, both The building itself is an iconic building, but the people that have actually gone through the building, people in the music industry, in the theatre industry, in the dance industry, it's quite a unique building, and I've been very honoured to have been based there now for 30 years. Portobello Dance School, 30 years, classically British, 20 years, and I'm very grateful to have that space in such a diverse area of West London.
Well, it's interesting because you having been there that long, I'm not originally a West Londoner, but I know it because of its iconic status. But you having been at the Tabernacle that long, you can actually be witness to how it has developed in those 30 years. Because you go into the Tabernacle now and it's like restaurants downstairs and, you know, a lovely theatre upstairs. It's completely changed.
Absolutely. No, it's an incredible space. Like we said, it has a wonderful restaurant downstairs. It also has a gallery. We have a theatre and a wonderful dance studio. We have music studio and the Mangrove Steel Band are based there. So yeah, it's a space that allows the community to do numerous things.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't just get the space, and like some other places, as I say, that are regular community centers, they get the space and it just kind of remains as it is, it's falling to bits. But they've really made the effort to develop it all the way through up to present day.
Yeah, well, it's had a lot of support from local government and of course the Arts Council, which does help.
Right. So what was your first or initial reason for going to the Tabernacle 30 years ago with the dance school? Were you originally a West London boy?
Yeah, I'm originally West London, born and bred.
Okay.
The reason I came back to West London was because after having worked with our mutual friend and my mentor, Carol Straker, we set up the Carol Straker Dance Foundation, the Carol Straker Dance School, and then, of course, the Carol Straker Dance Company in the early 90s. Right. After having worked with Carol, I decided to bring my experience to West London. So I started to teach in the local schools, and then I met this gentleman called Tyrone, who was a boxer. And he said to me, Mark, he said, I've seen you wandering around, going to all these schools, doing your classes. He said, why don't you find one space and just put all your classes and get everybody to come to you at this space? And I said, well, where are you thinking about? He said, well, why don't you go and check out the Tabernacle? So 30 years ago, I checked out the Tabernacle, and basically the rest is history.
It's history, that's it. But let's go back before the Tabernacle to your first years in dance. Where did dance start for you? How old were you when you first got into dance?
Well, I was very fortunate. I was brought up in a children's home in West London, in Little Venice, on the Warwick estate. And my house mother, who was we called her our Auntie Helen. So my Auntie Helen, who brought me up from the age of 3 to 15, she basically had a handful, not only myself, but 4 other children from different cultures. There were 5 of us. My older sister, Sheila, she was Irish descent. My older brother, Timmy, was also Irish descent. Then my sister, Rita, was mixed race. And my brother, Tony, he was mixed race. And myself. So we were like, I guess, we were like a rainbow tribe, like Josephine Baker's children. We were a rainbow tribe of children with all different personalities, and I was a very energetic, and I was very drawn to dance. I was a big fan of. Do you remember the program Top of the Pops?
I'm too young.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry, Barry. Well, anyway,
my fingers were crossed when I said that. Okay.
Before you were born, Barry, there was a program called Top of the Pops with a dance group called Pan's People, who I was very much inspired by, particularly Babs. And I used to get in front of Top of the Pops every Thursday. I think it started at 7:30. And when Pan's People came on, there I was with my jumper on my head, flicking my long hair over to one side.
I was going to say, obviously the jumper was the hair, right?
Like we did back in the day before.
Obviously the jumper was the hair, right?
Exactly, before extensions were invented. And my auntie thought, well, we've got to channel this energy that this young man has. So we decided that ballet was a good discipline for me to go into. So I, at the age of 10, was asked to audition for the Ballet Rambert school at the Mercury Theatre in Nottinghillgate. And that's where it started for me.
Ballet Rambert?
Ballet Rambert at the Mercury Theatre in Nottinghillgate. That was the founding home of the Rambert.
Yes, before it moved to Chiswick. Before it moved to Chiswick.
No. Chiswick was where it moved on to. Marie Rambert, who was the director of the Rambert Company, she founded the company, and they were based, their theatre and their studios were based at the Mercury Theatre in Nottinghillgate. And then, of course, they moved on to Chiswick, and now, of course, the company has a beautiful space on the Thames next to Channel 4 on South Bank, and the school is based in Twickenham.
But I mean, Ballet Rambert really is up there, isn't it? It's one of the classic schools.
It is. It's up there in the top 5. We've got our top. I think our top 5 dance companies are the Royal Ballet, English National Ballet, Birmingham Royal, the Rambert, and London Contemporary Dance. Those are major classical and contemporary companies, and then of course we have many more performing arts schools that are incredible.
So you started dance at the age of 10, did you say?
At the age of 10.
Right. And where did it continue from there, from Ballet Rambert for you?
Well, from Ballet Rambert, which was from the age of 10 to the age of 15, and then in 1979, I graduated from the Ballet Rambert, and at that point there were no working. In fact, there was only one working dancer of colour, classically trained, called Vincent Hanton, and he was the only person, anyone that had any talent as far as the classical aesthetic was concerned and was black or mixed race, knew of this one guy called Vincent Hanton, who was dancing with the Scottish Ballet. And I knew various talented black and mixed race dancers, but they weren't getting embraced into the ballet, into the British ballet bubble as such. But this one gentleman called Vincent Hanton was with Scottish Ballet. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? Because there's no, apart from Vincent, there was no other working black or mixed race, female or male ballet dancers. So I bunked off of school, and I
don't believe that for a minute.
Oh, yes. I bunked off of school, and I went to Covent Garden to Leonie Erdan's studio that used to be in Covent Garden. And I auditioned for a ballet company called Ballet Guilbenkian that was directed by a wonderful director called George Salavisa. And he basically offered me a contract. So I was very, very fortunate. When I graduated in 1979, I got my first contract. It was out of my first audition for the Ballet Guilbenkian. So it was Lisbon, Portugal, that I went to,
right,
for my first contract in dancing with a ballet company.
And what year was that?
That was 1979. But originally, Barry, I was supposed to go to Dance Theatre of Harlem, but at the time, I had quite how can I say? I guess he wasn't very, I guess, encouraging, and he saw areas of me that he didn't think further down the road perhaps those would be turned into positive things. So he turned it into quite a negative thing and just saying that I wasn't disciplined enough and that I was a wild card and I wouldn't stand a chance in America. So they put me on hold to originally go to Dance Theatre of Harlem. So that was another reason why I ended up bunking off school and going to audition for the Ballet Guilbenkian, because I thought, if I don't get into Dance Theatre of Harlem, where am I going to go? Because, like I said earlier, there were no working black or mixed race dancers. So soon as I heard about this audition for the Ballet Guilbenkian in Lisbon, I went. And funny enough, the director, George Salavisa, was in the same company as the teacher, I won't mention his name, as the teacher that put a spanner in the spoke for me, originally going to Dance Theatre of Harlem. And they used to dance with it's now called the English National Ballet.
Right.
And they danced together back in the day in that company. So it was quite funny how this teacher of mine tried to block me going to Dance Theatre of Harlem. And then I ended up in one of his friends' companies in Portugal. Funny old world.
So where did you go from Portugal? Because I know the meeting between you and I call her ballerina extraordinaire, Carol Straker, happened later in the US. Is that where you went from Guilbenkian?
From the Ballet Guilbenkian, I went to Dance Theatre of Harlem. And yes, that's where I met Carol Straker. So that would have been in the early 80s. Would have been 80, 81, 82 when I was at Dance Theatre of Harlem with Carol Straker.
And how was it for you? Because you'd never been to the States before, I imagine. And going to this strange place, how old were you? How did you cope? How was it?
Well, 17, 18. I must have been 18. And it was very scary because I wasn't used to, firstly, I was brought up in a children's home, predominantly by white people. So I didn't really have any grasp of my black roots as such. So I was going to be thrown in to the deep end of the black community in the USA, and I was heading straight to Harlem. So it was the A train, as the song goes, the A train to Harlem.
Good old Duke Ellington, absolutely.
Good old Duke Ellington. But as soon as I arrived on 54th Street, I just fell into the whole Harlem vibe. And, I came out of that station, I smelt that chicken, and I'd arrived, and I was home. And I felt very
Even though you weren't in touch with your roots as such, you felt that was a part of you.
Absolutely. And the next day, of course, I went to Dance Theatre of Harlem. I actually was staying my residency while I lived and was training at Dance Theatre of Harlem was at the Mitchell household. I actually lived with Arthur Mitchell, who was the director of Dance Theatre of Harlem. I lived with his mother in their family home, which was a wonderful brownstone building on 152nd Street, where of course Dance Theatre of Harlem is based, between Broadway and Amsterdam.
So going back slightly to your roots, because you said you were raised in a home predominantly by white people, what are your actual roots? Your mother is from here?
My roots, my father was from Dominica.
Okay.
From Dominica, and my mother was from Scotland.
Right. And you weren't connected to them in any way?
Well, I was connected, but disconnected as a young child, because they split up when I was probably about 2, and my father brought me up until I was 3, and then due to the circumstances, it was best that I was put in care. And there was a wonderful, she became a lifelong friend, and my social worker, Julia Graham, who also had a big part in encouraging and pointing me in the right direction of going going into the dance world. And Julia Graham met my father and me when I was just about 3, and thought the best thing for young Mark was for me to go in care and to be looked after. So if it really wasn't for this wonderful lady, Julia Graham, who became, like I said, a lifelong friend and my social worker, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you having this conversation about my life career as a dancer.
The thing is, I think it's really important that, especially in conversations like this, that you mention and acknowledge all of the people that were a part, and a positive part in particular, of your journey to where you are now.
Absolutely. I've been so blessed to have some incredible people that have nurtured, encouraged, and supported my love and passion for dance. But in the early days, it certainly was Julia Graham, my social worker, and my Auntie Helen, who brought me up in my children's home.
Right. And did you ever rekindle a relationship with your parents in later life?
My father, who I'm staring at on my fireplace over there, my father was always in my life. My father was in my life until his passing 6-7 years ago now. He passed 7 years ago. But sadly, I didn't get to meet my mother. But, right. These things happen. But I know that in my soul, I have her as part of my being, my father part of my being, and of course, all my family history is the DNA of the person that I am now. So I'm just grateful that I had the support and encouragement from the people that I had. I'm grateful that I had my father in my life. My father was a huge fan of my work. He followed my career from when I started dance school until I went to the Ballet Guilbenkian, and I came back. Then, of course, I went to America, and then I went into the West End. I did TV stuff. My father was constantly in my life, and extremely proud of me and the work that
and
I've
your
done,
achievement.
Especially my school. He adored my school. He used to come to all the school performances, all the classically British performances, and just doped on the fact that, oh yeah, that's my son. He's a famous dancer. That's my son, Mark Elie. He's my son. So I was very, very, very proud to have my father as my #1 fan.
Right, and it makes a difference having somebody that's close to you being supportive and encouraging.
Oh, absolutely. It's important to have your family or members of your family there by your side and encouraging and supporting what you're doing.
So back to Harlem, meeting with Carol Straker.
Yes, Carol Straker. I met her on the iron stairway at Dance Theatre of Harlem. And I saw this incredible black dancer in what we call a split ponche. And I just immediately assumed she was American. And I just said, which part of America are you from? And she said, I'm not from America. I'm from London. And I said, I'm from London as well. And then she said, well, where did you train? And I said, I trained at Rambert. And I asked her where she trained. And she told me she trained at the Erdan. And then we became friends. And like I said earlier, the rest is history. Lifelong friends. And, one of my dearest mentors and friends.
For sure. What a wonderful person she is.
Absolutely. 1 in a million.
Yeah, absolutely. I was very honored to have her on the show as well a few years back. So that was my real first connection with her, and realizing what a fabulous person she is and what a great story she had to tell.
Absolutely.
Like
and you're both from Barbados as well, so you both have that in common.
Yeah, but that wasn't an issue in the beginning. That came much, much later. That came much, much later. But how long were you in the company together?
What, at Dance Theatre of Harlem?
Harlem, yeah.
Well, we weren't in the company. We were training at Dance Theatre of Harlem. Carol
Oh,
had left the company. Carol had left the company to go and further her training education in America, and I
right.
left. And I left the company to go and further my education in America. And to be perfectly honest with you, it was one of the best things I did, because I think we both needed to have and be around Black dancers of excellence, because in London there were a handful of dancers of colour that were inspirational. Names like Patrick Lewis and Noel Wallace and Brenda Glassman and Brenda Edwards and so forth. But we were so segregated. We never really met each other. But
Right.
in New York, being at Dance Theatre Harlem, you know, on a daily basis, you were visually and in contact with these incredible Black mixed race dancers of excellence.
Yeah. And I think that's a rule that goes for anything in life. If you raise the bar with the company you keep in whatever field it is you may be in or want to be in, your standard automatically raises. The bar automatically raises.
Oh, absolutely. The competition at Dance Theatre of Harlem was off the Richter scale. You know, you had dancers, male and female dancers, that were just like 15 and 16 years old, that were actually in the company, and they were just phenomenal dancers, you know. But I think that it was an experience that basically made Carol and myself the artists that we are today, really.
Absolutely.
You know, having that under our belts made us realise that we could come back to the UK, back to where we were trained, our home, and try to sort something and get something started here.
With the bar considerably raised.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, just being in that environment, Dance Theatre of Harlem, come on, you know it's that's up there.
Oh yeah. Well, there was Dance Theatre of Harlem, there was Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre. There were numerous companies. You know, those two were the major and are the major companies in the States, and were the pioneers that paved the way. But there were so many people, even outside those establishments, and dancers that were just phenomenal. So we were fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time, when dance was at its peak, both commercially and in the ballet world, for Black and mixed race people.
Yeah. So you guys came back to the UK, and what was the journey from then when you came back?
Well, I came back before Carol. Carol went on to dance with Alvin Ailey. She went on to dance with Graham. She danced with numerous companies out there, dance companies, commercial companies, films, and so forth. And then I came back to the UK. And when I came back to the UK, there wasn't much still going on as far as inclusion in classical ballet. So I went down a commercial road, and I was fortunate enough to work in the West End. I did a couple of West End shows. I worked with Eileen Phillips in Hot Gossip, which was a big thing for me, because I'd seen also back in the day, which is having reruns, funny enough. I watched one of the reruns last night. The Kenny Everett show is being rerun.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Mark Time, who was one of the original dancers in Hot Gossip. Actually, last night I was talking to him, and then I watched the program. So I went down a very commercial career, and then musical theatre career, and then when Carol returned to the UK, Michael Clark was the top of the bill as far as him being the bad boy of ballet in the UK and in London at the time. And Les Child, I don't know whether you know Les Child. Do you know Les Child?
Of course.
Absolutely. The legend that is Les Child. And we were at Rambert together. And Les Child had asked Carol if she would audition for Michael Clark. And then Carol asked me, Mark, do you think I should audition for Michael Clark? I said, Carol, yes. Audition for Michael Clark. He is the flavour of the month. And he's doing stuff that is outside the box. Go there. And she did. And then she was working with Michael. I was in the West End. I think my last West End show was Mutiny on the Bounty with Frank Finlay, David Essex and Sunita. It wasn't a particularly enjoyable experience. It wasn't experience. It wasn't experience. Let's put it that way. But it wasn't one of my favourite musicals. And Carol was getting, I think she was getting worn out with all of the work that was thrown upon her, working with Michael and the touring, the world touring and so forth. And she decided that she wanted to channel her energy in creating a company that embraced Black and mixed race and people of colour, British dancers. And so she started the Carol Straker Dance Foundation, the Carol Straker Dance School, and then, of course, the company, which was launched in the early 90s.
Yeah. So tell us, when did you start your company? This is what we want to hear.
Well, before you can hear about my company, as I was saying to Omar yesterday, one must never forget where you come from. So I didn't suddenly just arrive. I arrived because of the hard work that people like Ballet Negre did back in the day, and of course Carol. So I set my company up, the Mark Elie Dance Foundation and Portobello Dance School, in like, it was like the mid-90s, really. It was after my work with Carol Straker and the Carol Straker Dance Company. And I just felt that I wanted to continue the legacy that Carol started. And I wanted to continue to try to encourage young people from the diverse community to be able to be in an environment that they could relate to, young Black and mixed race people that had aspirations of being ballet dancers or contemporary dancers or musical theatre dancers, to be in a space and to be around role models that they could relate to and be inspired by. So the school really was set up out of the work that I did with Carol, and to continue that. And that's basically what I've been doing for the last 30 years, is basically trying to make sure that children from the diverse community, children of Black and mixed race heritage, and also children that come from low-income families, because dance can be extremely expensive, especially in the classical dance world.
Absolutely, because it's one of those things that's it's like tennis. It can be quite exclusive simply because of how expensive it is to maintain it.
Absolutely. There's the point shoes, there's the tights, there's the fees. And so basically the Dance Foundation is set up to make it affordable for young people of colour to be able to live out their aspirations and dreams. And I've been very, very fortunate over the 30 years to have some incredible success stories that have come out of the dance school, and of course out of Classically British and Co. The company.
I need to understand the differentiate and distinguish between the dance school and Classically British. What's the difference?
Well, the dance school is the educational side of the Dance Foundation. That is a weekend destination. We have musical theatre classes on Friday, and then on all day Saturday we do ballet, tap, street, contemporary, and generally just a little bit of everything on Saturday. And then Classically British is an event I put on in Black History Month, which of course is in October. And basically, I bring together the best of British dancers. And it's
Right.
in the month of October, which is, of course, Black History. I like to call it Black History Season. Black History Month, they tend to generally call it. And what I've done over the years is basically educate people to the trail, the afternoon part of the day is an educational side, which I invite local schools and schools in central London to come to a dress rehearsal and be a part of the historical side of where we all sort of came from. The pioneers, such as Alvin Ailey, Arthur Mitchell, the Graham Company, all these people that led the way to get us to where we are now. I like to let our young people know who they
about
were,
them, acknowledge them, and teach them about them.
I teach them. I give them a historical account of past and present pioneers, and then in the evening, Classically British takes on a performance element where I usually work with about 6 of the best. I call them my Magnificent Six, and they're British artists with classical training. Most of them that I've worked with over the 30 years come from a classical training, and it's the agenda is to enlighten people and show people the talent that we have here in the UK, because we always get inspired to look at the Americans and the Cubans, but I think it's time that we embrace and we look and we put on a pedestal our British Black and mixed race classically trained ballet dancers.
Right. So you say that the Classically British is an event that you put on for Black History Season, as you like to call it. And the dancers, are they all exclusively from your school, or are they from other schools as well?
Well, over the years, I've been very fortunate. I've actually had in Classically British and Co. Company 3, in fact, if I include little Kaya, I've had 3 members of the school in the Classically British Company. But the Classically British Company is also being built so that the students from the school can not only see imagery that they can relate to, but inspired to maybe say, I'd like to be in Classically British and Co. Company. And over the years, I've been able to invite pupils from the school that have excelled and have the talent, not only physically, but mentally have the talent to be able to be a part of the Classically British Company.
Right. So you recently had your event. That's when we last spoke.
Yes.
And what was that?
That was celebrating the 20th anniversary.
All right. It was a specific celebration of 20 years. 20
years, and it was called An Audience With. And basically, it was an opportunity to, of course, the education. I had about 300 children that turned up in the afternoon for the dress rehearsal and to see what the show entailed, and also be a part of the show. Of course, it's lovely to hear the children's knowledge about the month, which is Black History Month, and that's what they're learning at school. So it's really nice to hear what they know about Black History Month, and then I give them a little lesson about the pioneers and the people that paved the way, the movers and the shakers in the dance world, both in the United States and here in the UK. Yeah, past and present. And it was lovely to see Danny John Jules, one of our old-time friends. Yes, I was at school with Danny. In fact, it was an incredible evening, because I had artists from all sides and all areas of the industry. I had dancers, I had pop stars, I had actors, I had opera singers, they all, it seemed to be a jambalaya of incredible British talent that turned up to watch Classically British. And of course, Danny, I was at school with, I think Gary Crowley, who's he's a radio presenter, Gary Crowley, who was also at my school. So there was a nice moment when I had Gary on stage and Danny on stage. We were like the Three Stooges. And that was really lovely. That was really lovely. And it was nice to hear, you know, them digging up my work and appreciating what has been achieved over the last 30 years with the foundation and 20 years with Classically British. So it was a very, very special evening, enjoyed by friends, old and new, and people that I've known for a very, very long time. Yeah. And of course, new people, which is always lovely to be able to introduce my work to fresh audiences.
It's always about including and incorporating new, because, you know, you have to bring fresh blood in there, a new set of appreciation and value for what you're doing, you know, so it's always good to bring new people in. So tell us about your children's book.
I forgot about that. Funny enough, I was talking, let me just grab that because I know it's in my bag.
Check the couch out, guys.
Right,
nice,
here we go.
Nice upholstered couch. Did you see that, guys? Yes.
A little something I prepared earlier. This is my book. I don't know whether you can see it. It's The Tales of Oceana.
Bring it a bit closer. We can see it, but it's not clear. That's it. And what's it called? Hold it right there. Hold it right there. Don't move. And what's it called?
It's called The Tales of Oceana.
Okay. And what's it about?
The Tales of Oceana, basically, it's a story that came out of my tiny top class, which is the 3 to 5 year olds that I teach. And I always think that dance should be fun. And it should be fun, and it should also have some discipline. So what I do with my 3 to 5 year olds is we have a wonderful ballet class, and at the end of the class we go to the Mermaid and the Merman's disco, and it's a chance for them just to relax. It's a story that I tell, and they interact, and they end up at this disco. Like I said, the Merman and Mermaid's disco. And I turned it into a ballet. I presented it at one of the school shows. The parents loved it and said, Mark, you should turn it into a book. So I did. And there you go.
And the thing is, he's just telling me the story as we speak. He's just telling me the story. And I'm looking at my face on the screen and I'm just smiling. And I don't know why I'm smiling about a mermaid and a merman, but it just sounds lovely.
Well, firstly, she's a black mermaid.
I was going to say, because that mermaid there image looked like it had a whole load of weaves going on there.
Yeah, well, I think she was inspired by, there's a little bit of Diana Ross going on and a little bit of Beyonce. Naturally. Absolutely. But yeah, I just felt that, excuse me, I'm just going to have a little sip of my green tea. Mm.
You sure that's green tea? Okay.
I'm definitely sure, Barry. I just felt that there wasn't enough black female role models in children's books. And every time I asked my tiny tots who they would like to be, they said, I'd like to be Elsa, Frozen. So I just thought, let me see if I can create this character, Oceana, and make her a black mermaid. And
now, you saying that, have you seen all the controversy regarding the Disney mermaid being black?
Oh, there's always controversy when we do stuff, because when we do it so fabulously. It just rocks the boat. So, you know.
I think it capsized the boat this time. It didn't just rock it. I mean, there was global uproar because the Little Mermaid is now black in the new Disney. And yeah, so, you know, you realize that she can be any color, because You know, she can be purple, she can be white, she can be anything except black. Once she becomes black, you know, people are in turmoil.
It's
So
sadly,
it's interesting that you created Oceana. That's what I mean.
I just think that I just personally felt that we needed to have a character, and Oceana came to mind. And I actually went to St. Lucia one year, and I remember being at a fundraiser that was raising money for children in Castries, and I said, you know, if there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to ask me. And I told them about my book, and they asked me, would you read you know, some of your book to the children? And I remember thinking, well, I haven't actually got my book with me, but I know it's in my head.
Yeah.
So I read it to about 5 St. Lucian children. They were between the ages of 3 and 5. And I was completely gobsmacked how engaged they were. And one little girl, you know, she was like, I like Oceana because she looked like me. And I just thought,
I take it that's a St. Lucian accent.
There you go. That's what it's about. Role models, having people that you can relate to and inspire to.
Absolutely. So how is the book going? When did it come out? Come on.
I originally self-published it. So I'm actually looking for an agent and a publisher. So if there's anybody out there in Barry Thomas's cyber world who is inspired to maybe have some dialogue and a chat with me regarding my book, The Tales of Oceana, I'm up for dialogue. I am looking for an agent and I am looking for a publisher. So please don't hesitate.
We will definitely have a conversation about that off screen.
Okay.
Because I can think of 3 or 4 people off the top of my head that I should let you at least speak to.
Excellent.
Who started with self-publishing, then, you know, got publishers, agents, etc. And as you say, the rest is history, and now the world is their oyster. So I think, you know, definitely those 3 people I could put you in touch with off the top of my head.
Excellent. Well, I know Michael de Souza, who's the writer of the books Rasta Mouse.
Okay.
His little girl, actually, well, she's a big girl, actually. I bumped into the other day. She's a big girl now, and she's a mother. Her son is called Ocean.
Okay.
So that's going to be one of my next characters. It's going to be called Ocean.
So how many did you self-publish? I
self-published about 250. And what I did with them was I put them out in cyberspace just to friends all over the world, just to see what the response would be. And they've gone as far as Australia, they've gone to America, they've gone all over Europe, they've gone up and down the UK, and the response has been really good. So now I know that the book is appreciated and sought after and enjoyed by many, many children. So now I need to get myself an agent and a publisher so that we can go forward, and I can do some more work on this book. And then I've got the second draft of my book, because I actually went to speak to somebody this week. So I'm actually in the process of doing my second book.
Okay.
The Tales of Oceana 2.
I was going to say, Oceana's got a part 2.
Yeah, because basically Oceana is about a mermaid, a black mermaid, and her friends from all over the different oceans and seas of the world, and her concerns of looking after our seas and our beaches all over the world, which, as you know, the environment is getting ruined by rubbish, you know, and pollution. So it has, you know, it has good connotations of environmental, you know, help to support and look after our environment and our beaches and our seas.
Indeed. Now, where is the book available? Where can we get it?
At the moment, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm on hold because I can't go forward until I can actually get more books published. And it's so expensive to get
Right.
good printers. So at the moment, I'm looking and I'm working towards getting myself an agent so that I can continue to get this book printed, because it's published.
So all of the 250 copies that you self-published, they've all gone, have they?
I've got 5 left.
Okay.
And I'm keeping those 5 back. When I meet people, I can actually show them, and if they're serious, then I can let them take the copy, and then we can take it from there. But right now, my acid test is to get an agent and a publisher.
Well, I mean, it's great that you've got rid of 245 of them if you've only got 5 left. So, I mean, that in itself is a testament that there is an audience for the book.
Oh, there's definitely an audience. And having got the school, I've been going this summer, well, actually this year, I've been going into schools and doing book reading. So, there's other sides to the book than just the hard copy. I've been going into numerous schools all over London and doing book readings, and they've been really received very well. And that's also the area of the book that I enjoy, is actually going into schools and reading the book to young people.
Right. Well, I think that's a bit of a tease, telling us about this wonderful book. And I'm there all on tender hooks now going, where can we get it? When can we get it? And he says, we're on hold. So we'll just have to be patient, I take it.
Yes. Yes. Yes,
well, patience apparently is a virtue. I'm working on that. I'm working on it.
And virtue was a Grace, and Grace was a naughty girl that never washed her face.
See, only Mark Elie can come out with that. I've never heard that before in my life.
There you go. There you go.
Well, listen, we wish you every success with the new project, the book. Of course, the success with Classically British and the dance school continues. 30 years, 20 years, that's not going to stop in a hurry. But really and truly, we're all behind you with the book and getting it published, getting an agent. We wish you the best, and we look forward to being able to get signed copies by your good self when it's ready.
Absolutely. Well, we're at that time of year, Barry, so I wish you and your team a happy Christmas and a healthy New Year to you and your families. And if there's anyone out there that wants to come to my Christmas show, it's at the Tabernacle on the 10th of December at 2 p.m. And if you want any information, just go to the website. It's all the W's, portobellodance.org.uk.
Now say that again.
The website for information about my work is www.portobellodance.org.uk.
You heard it from the man himself. Mark Elie, thank you so much for a great conversation. Great to talk to you. All the best with your future endeavors, and we eagerly await that book.
Thank you, Barry. Been a pleasure. Bye for now.
Take care. All the best.